This is the Speaking of Writers podcast. I'm Steve Richards. The book is The Unraveling of Julia, the author Lisa Scottoline, the latest page turner from the number one best-selling author. We're transported to the captivatingly beautiful hills of Tuscany, where a crumbling villa hides a long-buried family secret. With her trademark combination of vivid, cinematic settings, pulse-pounding suspense, and wonderfully relatable characters, Scottoline delivers an unforgettable story of mystery and psychological intrigue. Lisa Scottoline, the number one best-selling and Edgar Award-winning author of 37 novels. She's also written a series of humorous memoirs, too, co-authored with her daughter, novelist Francesca Serritella. Lisa is president of Mystery Writers of America, and she reviews fiction for the New York Times, Washington Post, and the Philadelphia Inquirer. A former trial lawyer, she graduated magna cum laude from the University of Pennsylvania and cum laude from its law school, where she taught justice and fiction. There are 30 million copies of her books in print, and she is published in 35 countries. And she lives on a Pennsylvania farm with an array of disobedient. They're still disobedient, right,
They're
pets?
terribly disobedient.
And she wouldn't have it any other
That's
way.
that's the intro. That's fantastic. Thank you, Steve. I wish you were my agent. You really,
Thank you, Lisa, and welcome back. Now we're doing video. It's
I love
2025.
it. I
So,
like it
welcome
better.
back to this
Yes.
podcast. It's been a while, but it's great to have you back. So, tell me a little bit about the unraveling of Julia, the idea behind it, and a little bit about the story here, a little tease.
Well, it's funny. I got the idea for it when I went to a channeler 40 years ago. And this woman told me my innermost thoughts, which was that I secretly wanted to be a writer. And that day I went home and started writing. And I have to tell you that for 40 years, I've been thinking about that kind of uh, is there a sixth sense? Can she really channel souls? And so this book kind of announced itself. What the top line plot is briefly is that a young woman in Philadelphia inherits a vast Tuscan estate from a woman whom she doesn't know, a total stranger. Now, it just so happens that our heroine, Julia, is adopted. So, as an adoptee, she doesn't really know her birth family because they never really asked. She didn't really go to it with her adoptive family. And so she starts to wonder, am I related to this woman in Tuscany? So she goes to Tuscany to get answers. And unraveling ensues, Steve. That's what's happening.
Yeah, Julia has no luck. A lot of tragedy and loss here. Loses her adoptive parents, and her husband is murdered right in front of her. So, how did you create this character of Julia?
I really think I don't write with an outline. You could have guessed that, knowing each other so well. I sort of always have to pull out something for me. And you're always writing, to me, you're always writing a novel at a certain point of time. So when you want to say what makes a novel relatable or page turnery, I think it has to do with really the relatability of the characters almost primarily. And so I sort of have to check myself, especially as somebody who writes about justice, because ideas about justice are so much in flux right now. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you're probably not feeling like there's a lot of justice in our zeitgeist, and there isn't. So in a way, we're more stressed, we're more worried, we have higher rates of alcoholism and drug abuse, and sadly, even suicide. And so I'm writing at that time, right? So I can't write the conventional uh, get the police and everything's going to work out great. The law always follows, always leads to justice. I have to write a character who's feeling a little unraveled when it starts and wondering if there is going to be any form of justice or accountability, and then sets about going to get it herself. I always feel like I don't plan it this way, but I feel like every one of my novels ends up being like a little pep talk for me.
Mm.
Or for anybody picking it up and going, wow, you think the odds are against you? You don't even know how strong you are. So that's really what's going on behind the book.
You talk about justice. How has your background in law influenced your approach to storytelling?
Oh, that's such a good, what a wonderful way to phrase it. Um I think it makes me more heartbroken a little bit because I really do believe in justice. I loved being a lawyer. I revered the profession. I was a clerk for a state appellate judge and a federal appellate judge. So I'm really, as an institution, I'm a big fan of the Constitution and the laws. I took an oath. I took an oath several times, in fact. So when I see it being so kind of run roughshod over, and as I say, that I think you feel that way regardless. That's what's so the crazy mirror of our times. You feel that regardless whether you're left or right. It puts me in a little bit of despair. But then I say to myself, well, try to look around because there has to be accountability. What Julia is really looking for in this novel, I don't know that she can get justice, but she can get accountability. And that feels a lot the same. And that's what's so interesting, that it really, I think, is that notion of law and order really goes hand in hand. Law creates order. When you don't have law, you have disorder and an unhappy commonweal. And so when your main character has to feel a little like I'm feeling, which is what's going to happen next? Is everything going to be okay? How's it going to turn out? Now, that turns out to be not great for living your life as a real person in the world, but it's pretty good for a suspense novel because I don't know how she's going to get out of this jam that, she finds herself in, and neither does she. And we got to figure it out together. And I like to think that that kind of uncertainty about justice bleeds in osmotically, if that's a word, to the novel, and really underpins it. So that's really such a great question, Steve. I appreciate it.
Sure. The settings for this novel, I mean, you write what you know, Philadelphia, it starts there. That's where Julia is. You're from
Right,
Philadelphia.
right.
And then Tuscany. Why did she end up in Tuscany?
Because I tried to think about, I am Italian American, so I love Italian settings. And I also had been captivated earlier by the story of Caterina Sforza, who is this duchess from the Italian Renaissance. And I'll just explain it briefly so we don't sound like the History Channel, although I kind of love the History Channel.
Oh,
But
yeah.
in any event, right? She was really a remarkable, the only woman ruler during the Renaissance and ahead of her time in every way, and tried to defeat the Borgias and outsmarted Machiavelli, who thought he was so smart. And I started to think about her, and then I said, I wonder how I have to write about that. And it's sort of interesting. What has happened is a contemporary novel, right? But when Julia goes to Tuscany, she finds out that the person who she thinks is her grandmother and who left her the estate was delusional and delusionally believed that she was a descendant of Caterina Sforza. And then I did the historical research, and it turns out that that maybe is even possible. And then Julia starts to think it. And then the question is she delusional or is she right? Is she channeling Caterina Sforza or is she completely unraveling and lost in this world of her own imagination? So that's where that sort of, I love that kind of richness of the layering of the story comes in. It didn't come from me, it came from history.
Speaking of history and research, what was it like for you, the research for this book?
I love research because also I dropped myself in the middle of Tuscany, which is this is pretty great. And also I don't know what the plot's going to be. So I have to go where the plot takes me and sort of learn as I go. So Tuscany, and I also was also like many Americans, sort of in love with the idea of Tuscany. It's romantic and you have Under the Tuscan Sun. And a little bit I said, okay, that's been done. What you want is a Gothic Tuscany. What you want is the dark side of Tuscany. And when I did a little research, I found like there's some labor issues there with all the harvesting of the grapes. And there's all this kind of, well, there's modern day issues in this beautiful sun-drenched vineyard scape. And I said, I want to go there. I actually was looking to write a modern Italian Gothic. And what that means is, because I think a lot of people don't really understand it, but basically what the core of that Gothic trope is a woman, an ordinary woman, a non-expert, like she's not a cop, she's just a girl, right? And she's in the middle, finds herself in the middle of a dangerous situation and has to get out of it. It usually involves a villa that's crumbling, just like we have here, and all the twisty, turny stuff that I don't want to give away that's in the Unraveling of Julia. And I just was really, I loved those Gothic books, and I loved that trope. And to see her kind of a little bit really freshen it up, that's what I was going for anyway, and give it a modern twist. So you use Tuscany, but not the way Tuscany's always been used. Plus the
What did
food's
Right, yes. What does your daily writing routine look like? I know you're more of a pantser, right? Not as much of
Totally.
an outliner.
Right.
What's the daily writing routine?
Well, I'm doing a book a year, and so that means that I write every day, that 7 days a week. To get the first draft down, I write 2,000 words a day, and that's my absolute minimum. And that's a good thing to have if people are writing. As you know, Steve, I'm really like to encourage people who want to write. Go for it, go for it, go for it. Anybody can do it. And you just have to sit down and try to make yourself do it and not be afraid of all the little voices in your head that tell you you don't know what you're doing because you just press on regardless. So, oops. So so I do 2,000 words a day, and that is no matter what. Let me turn off my phone. And I now, what's good about that is that it gives you a way to turn off. In other words, I work in my house. I would feel like I have to work all the time. Like, oh, well, it's right there. Can't you think of another chapter? That's not a good feeling. Jake Kasdan, the great director, said, when you write, it's like having homework every day of your life. I thought that was
Yeah,
a really great quote,
it
right?
is. Yeah.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
It's
It's got to
exactly like
feel
that.
that way. Yeah.
So you have to know there you can turn it off. So if I make 2,000 words a day, and I do that for like 2 months or 3 months, I basically, and I don't edit while I'm in first draft. I have to figure out the story, which is basically me going, well, now what would happen? What would she do? What would the people around her do? What would the cops do? What would her lover do? And all of that kind of stuff. And then once I'm done, I think of Hemingway's great quote, which is write drunk, edit sober. I don't do that. But I basically go, okay, now you have a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end that hopefully is a surprise. Um, Usually it's a surprise to me, but I like that when that happens. So then I have to go, okay, now how can you make it? I say get it down, then get it good. These are little things I say to myself every day that I hope people are listening can write down themselves. I have it on my computer. And then you're just going to look at every verb. You're going to go, is that punchy enough? Is that good enough? Is this image clear enough? Stephen King has, I love his book on writing. And he said something like, how you write is you imagine the scene and then you reproduce it for the reader. And I thought that sounds
Yeah.
so simple, but isn't that kind of true?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have to imagine it, but then you got to describe it. You can't just give somebody's consciousness. Because I see some writers do that and go, oh, that's not good enough. You need to, I can't visualize it. Where is your character right now that she's thinking all these things? Where is she sitting? Where is she going? So you have to answer those kind of concrete questions so that readers can put themselves in the scene. And then when I know, then I just edit ad nauseum until they make me give it to them.
Hmm.
And then I have a book.
Does the plot typically come to you first or the character? I know here what Katerina, the story about Katerina Sforza was what you discovered first, right?
It was that that was lurking, and I thought, but I don't want to write it. I had written some historicals, which I love doing, but I was feeling more of this, as I was saying, this sort of instability of our time,
Yeah.
and who is your hero in an unstable time? And ideally, your hero is yourself. You could feel weak, but I think what this time is teaching us, when so many of our institutions are not doing their job, is a little bit that we have to speak up for ourselves. I'm a mom. I'm a single mother. My daughter is now the amazing Francesca Serritella has just written her second novel called Full Bloom. But I told her her whole life, you have to, I hope you have friends that support you and a husband or whatever, whatever. And that's lovely and wonderful. But in the end, you have to fight for yourself. You don't get what you don't fight for. And that's a single mom talking, but I think it's really true. So I think my character, Julia, especially embodies that because she has such a run of bad luck. And we all have runs of bad luck. We have worse luck. I mean, you know, Steve, you get letters. I get letters that'll go, thank you so much for your book. They got me through chemo. And I'll go, those letters break my heart. They also
Yeah.
make me happy because that's what books are for. People have real travail and runs of rough patches. And I just want to be a little light in that time, even though it's a exciting and sometimes suspenseful and scary story.
Yeah, that's got to be a great feeling when you receive a note like that, a comment
No,
like that.
I know. It really, really is.
How do you handle, because you have a loyal fan base, how do you handle criticism or negative reviews? I'm sure at this point, with so many books, you can handle it well.
I am a rhinoceros now.
Mm.
Because you know what it is, truly? I started out in paperback original. I wanted to get published for 5 years. I went broke doing it. And then basically went broke being published till I got, a living wage. And I always remember what it's like to have a reader. So every reader's a gift. And I'm writing so much that I don't even mind if somebody doesn't like it because I'm hoping they'll like the next one. Like I'm relentlessly optimistic that someone picked your book up, took their time, even if they didn't buy it, they read it in a library, God bless them. Time is the currency we have on this planet. Time is all we have. They took the couple of hours it took to read you and they didn't like it. Okay. Well, and I get those emails and they're the first ones I answer. Well, that's not true. Sometimes I like to answer the nice ones first. But sometimes I'll answer the other ones and I'll just say, I'm sorry this one didn't work for you. I'd like to send you another one and see if that does. And usually they're so taken aback. They go, that's so nice. I think they forget you're an actual person. Like,
Right.
look, I live in a house. I'm all alone. I got the dogs. I got chickens. They forget you're a person. Like, oh my God, I was kind of rude. I'm like, no, it's okay. Really. It's not your job to take care of my feelings. It's my job to write a book you like. So let's see if we can try again. And then usually they'll write back, go, I really love that second one. I'm like, let's hear it for the compensatory call. I'll take it. So, it depends on whether you're thinking is short term or long term. My thinking, I'm a wacky kind of person and I come off a little wacky, but I really think long term. And I want that reader in the end.
What has surprised you the most about your journey as an author? Did you ever get this far in your dreams as dreaming of writing?
No, it didn't. That's exactly you asked the question, you answered it. I can't believe like you're seeing me now. And this will be on, they'll be able to see this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so behind me is my own is only my signed collection. Like I have 5,000 books in this house. And so I walk around and there's books in every room. I've built-in shelves. You know how that goes, right? You keep, oh, I need room for growth, and then you fill that up in no time.
Yes, right back here. Yes.
I know, I see we are like-minded. And I was like, and I can't part with them and I don't lend them. And so I just got a whole bunch of new books. I had 8 new books I can't even wait to read. And I just walk, I feel lucky and blessed every day. That's the God's honest truth. So if you ask me what did I think, I didn't think I'd get this. I wanted it so badly. And basically what I wanted is stay home and raise my daughter as a single mom and be able to earn a living. And I did. And she's like 39 now. That's a miracle. So honestly, I mean, I feel lucky in this life, but I was going to say if I died tomorrow, I'd die happy. That's a little grim, but I feel very lucky every day.
The book, The Unraveling of Julia by Lisa Scottoline, is your debut on Grand Central Publishing.
Yes. Yes.
So why the switch? Was it just time?
Well, I think, I've had a long career. I've been very lucky. It's been 40 years of writing. And it feels like about every 10 years ago or so, I go, oh, maybe you should try another publisher. And I really liked what they were doing. And I thought, all right. And it's nice to have a new team. I'm going to, in my lifetime, I start out with legal thriller series, right? Then domestic thriller, bunch of standalones, historical thriller. Now this is psychological thriller. I like to change it up. And since I was changing up what I was writing, it made sense to change up the team. And I'm always going to go back. Like, I mean, I like to, it's never different. I mean, maybe you might have a different view, but what I really was hoping for is to look, I'm lucky enough to have readers book to book, right? And so I never want them to be bored. Nobody wants to read the same thing 800 times. They just don't. And I don't want to write that 800 times. So, and unless it's a series like Rosado, which might be coming to television, which would be wonderful. Then I go, all right, I'm going to write something that keeps it fresh for me and my reader. And let's make this character a little more unhinged than if you look at my past characters. Benny Rosado, she doesn't really have a moment where she has self-doubt. She knows she's a great lawyer. She's strong. She's definite. People feel confident around her. And she has she has a backstory, but basically she's not Julia. She is not Julia Pritzker. And I want to write about different people, especially at different points in time. A real definite person right now must be in denial if you're a lawyer, right? Because lawyers are getting fired right and left, and the Supreme Court is caught in a world of trouble, and there's controversy at every court level. And every lawyer I know is freaking out. So, and that's the truth. Everyone's going, oh my God, what's happening to the profession? What about the oath? All that stuff. So, it's really fun to sort of extend what I'm doing just a little bit. And I think this book does that.
And what is next for you in your writing?
You know what's funny? I haven't said this out loud, but I couldn't let go of Julia. I really thought after this, especially where it ends, and I won't give it away, it's this good surprise ending, but I was like, there's another book in this woman, which is an interesting problem that you can have in your life where you go, like, as soon as I started writing Rosado, I said, these characters have legs. They will, and also the problems they're having are episodic. They're a law firm, people come to them, it's a case, they're going to have another case, they're going to have personal lives that are moved. You can get a series out of that, and that's kind of a fun thing to do. I have very old friends. My best friend's 40, we've been best friends for 40 years. I'm my best friend from high school, we're still friends with. So by the same token, when you look at a book like a standalone, The Truth About the Devlins, which actually might be coming to streaming too, that's a very discrete problem somebody has. And that character, although he could be a series character, that's a discrete problem. I have to think of another problem for him. Julia has an ongoing problem that I could either mine or let go. And I found that I couldn't let her go. So the next book is also a Julia book.
More to
And
come from Julia.
More to come. More to come.
All right. The Unraveling of Julia is the first one out with Julia Pritzker, a great beach read this summer from Lisa Scottoline. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Same here. And this is the Speaking of Writers podcast. Thank you for watching. I'm Steve Richards.